Hello, Warrior Nation. I'm State Senator Jeremy Miller. I want to thank all the groups who are involved with putting on this forum. I want to thank everybody for watching. I've had the opportunity to visit with students, faculty, staff, administrators on campus, around town, at the Capitol, at different sporting events. Had a chance to meet with the football team last year. But for those of you who don't know me, again, my name is Jeremy Miller. I'm born and raised right here in Winona, 2001 graduate of Winona Senior High School. After high school, I couldn't wait to leave Winona. Went to college in Denver, Colorado. Loved Denver, loved Colorado. I did not like the school. After being away for a year, I couldn't wait to get back home and started working in our family business, Miller Scrap, where my brother and I are the fourth generation to be involved in the business. At the same time, I attended Minnesota State College Southeast and eventually earned a degree in accounting. After getting that degree, I worked full-time here at Miller Scrap. And as a small business, we have multiple responsibilities, wear multiple hats, some of which for me include accounting and finance, business development, human resources, quality environmental health and safety management, as well as domestic and global sales of certain types of metals. I am married to my beautiful wife Janelle for over 11 years, and we have three boys. Drew is 8.5, and our twins Luke and Tom recently turned 7. In 2010, in 2010, I was the second youngest Minnesotan elected to the state senate, and more recently in 2019, I was the youngest senator to become president of the Senate in our state's history. As I travel the district and visit with constituents, the number one issue that they're frustrated about, the number one issue that I'm frustrated about at the Capitol is the polarization and extreme partisanship of party politics, and more people are expressing their frustration with negative campaigning. While my opponent tries to mislead voters with false information about my record, I will stay focused on the facts. We will stay positive. It just absolutely baffles me on what some people will do to play party politics and discredit the accomplishments of others. My approach is different, very different. My philosophy is even more simple. Listen and work together to get good things done for the people of Minnesota. This approach has worked very, very well for me during my time in the Senate. We've worked on bipartisan solutions to lower healthcare costs, promote job growth and economic development initiatives. We increase funding, record investments in education, including early childhood learning programs as well as special education programs. We increase funding for mental health services, disability service providers, and local nursing homes. When it comes to infrastructure projects, I was a champion for Winona State University's Education Village. If you haven't had a class there, I hope you've at least had an opportunity to check it out. It's a beautiful facility. We recently celebrated the grand reopening of the Lanesboro Dam, another project I worked on, the Southeast Minnesota Veterans Cemetery, and state funding for a new veterans home here in Southeast Minnesota. Two great ways to honor our veterans, and there were several major bridge and road projects that I was involved with. Contrary to what you might hear from others, I have voted yes on every bipartisan bonding bill that has become law in the Senate during my time in the Senate. When the COVID pandemic hit, we got to work right away on bipartisan solutions to help keep Minnesotans safe. As president of the Senate, I helped guide our emergency funding efforts for hospitals, clinics, nursing homes, and healthcare professionals. And I also led the effort in the legislature to ensure proper workplace safety protections for our healthcare workers, first responders, and others on the front lines of the COVID pandemic. This was very, very important to me and my colleagues in the Senate, and I'm proud of the bipartisan efforts that we put forward to get this done. During my time in the Senate, I've made higher education a priority. At least I know, and many of my colleagues know, how important higher education is to our communities, to the state, and the entire country. Being from Winona and having Winona State University, St. Mary's University, and Minnesota State College Southeast, I know how important higher education is to our local community, especially the college students, when it comes to retail, when it comes to housing, jobs, restaurants, and of course the bars. Our higher education institutions, especially the students, are major economic drivers for our community. I said earlier, higher education has been a priority for me. I have supported more operating funding for our local colleges and universities. We increased funding to the state grant program. I supported textbook affordability. I championed the streamlining of the credit transfer process, so credits transfer more efficiently from colleges and universities. We worked together with faculty and staff to reform the presidential search process to allow for more local control when our local campuses are selecting a new president. And I was very proud to pass the first in the nation student loan tax credit. First in the nation student loan tax credit. Higher education will continue to be a priority for me. There was a question about the environment, wow, from lakes to rivers to streams to bluffs, our wonderful parks and trails. We are so fortunate to have beautiful natural resources right here in Winona and throughout southeastern Minnesota. I know our family takes advantage of them. I hope you do too. There's so much great outdoor beauty here in the Winona area. It's incredibly important to me that we take care of our environment and natural resources. There are two main priorities at the Capitol right now. One is more funding for clean water initiatives, and another more funding for parks and trails, both of which I'm supportive of. There was a question about immigration. My view on immigration is our country needs a comprehensive immigration reform package. This, of course, would have to be done at the federal level. I support a path to citizenship for undocumented individuals who are already here in the United States. And one of the most substantial immigration pieces of legislation that passed at the state level was the DREAM Act, and I supported. I voted yes on the DREAM Act. When it comes to social equity and racial justice, I believe that everyone should be treated fairly and that there should be equal opportunities for all. It's not something that I like to talk about very often, but growing up Jewish in a predominantly non-Jewish community, I experienced discrimination. To this day, I still hear anti-Semitic comments, and it's difficult when you hear those types of comments. And when I'm at the Capitol as a state senator, I'm there to represent and listen to all the constituents that I have the honor and privilege of representing. And every vote that I take at the Capitol, I do in a way that I feel best represents the majority of the constituents that I represent, based on the feedback that I hear from those constituents. My parents taught me important values like hard work, respect, and honesty. And I think our society as a whole would be much better off. We would benefit greatly if people were more respectful to one another. This year's election is incredibly important. I encourage each and every one of you to get out and vote. It's one of the most important civic duties we have as Americans. And I hope you'll consider voting for me. I'm Jeremy Miller. It's a great honor to represent southeastern Minnesota, and I would appreciate your vote so we can continue to work together to help make southeastern Minnesota an even better place to live, work, raise a family, and go to college.